Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about the 7 angels in the book of Revelation. So stick around because today's video is going to be very, very, very interesting. So when it comes to the book of Revelation, not a lot of people talk about the 7 angels in the book of Revelation. Most people like to talk about the beast and the harlot and this, that, and the other, and locust and all kinds of crazy stuff. But almost nobody ever talks about the 7 angels in the book of Revelation. And this is probably, I'm not going to say it's the most important aspect of this book, but it's something that's very, very important and should not be overlooked. So what do I mean by the 7 angels? Well, I'm going to show you what I mean in a couple seconds, but just to kind of bring you into it and build some context. When you open up the book of Revelation and you read the first chapter, you're immediately confronted with this concept, which is you have John, whoever that John is. You have John who's going to be given this vision, and then you have Jesus who's giving him this vision. And Jesus says to him, John says, I heard this voice call from behind me, and it says, to the 7 churches in Asia, write this. Okay, and so he's setting up what's going to happen. What ends up happening in chapter 2 and chapter 3 is John is actually writing these letters to the church. Now, this is the most interesting part about these letters, okay? So here's what you have to understand. Number 1, these are actually real churches, okay? They're actually real churches in Asia Minor, okay? That's number 1. But what's interesting is that the letters that is sent to these churches are not actually physical letters. They're spiritual letters. I'll show you what I mean. When we come to the book of Revelation, this is the introduction part right here. And then we come down to the greetings of the 7 churches. It also tells us about John and who he is. And this is where the vision sort of kind of starts. Not really, it doesn't go full on into the vision, but it basically says, I was doing this. I was on the island of Patmos, and then I heard this voice come from behind me and start talking to me, which of course is Jesus. So he goes on to talk here, and in chapter 2, it starts out, and he says this interesting phrase. He says, to the angel of the church in Ephesus writes. And we come down to the next church, and it says the same thing. It says, to the angel of the church in Smyrna. And we go to the next church, and it says the same exact thing. It says, and to the church in Pergamum. Okay. And we can go to the next one and see the same thing, which we do right here. It says to the church in Tyre, the angel of the church. Okay. And to the angel of the church. And the last one, I believe, the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, the church, to the angel of the church. And the last one, of course, is there as well. I know this seems redundant. It's going on and on and on and on. Okay, so there's no mistaking this. And I'm sure as you heard me kind of going over them, I just actually subconsciously took out the word angel. Because when we think about these letters being sent to these churches, we don't actually think of them being sent to an angel. However, the book tells us very clearly that these letters were sent to angels of the churches. So let's be clear about what we're talking about here. John is not sitting down writing a physical letter, and that physical letter is being, put in a mailbox and sent to these elders in the church of Ephesus and Smyrna and Philadelphia and so on and so forth. That's not what's happening. That's not what this book is telling us. What this book is telling us is that there's actually an angel who is guarding one of these churches, or is heading one of these churches, or a spiritual guide, if you will. And John is writing a spiritual letter to those churches. Okay. Now, a lot of scholars actually think that when the book of Revelation was written, it was written as a whole piece and then put together and sent to all the churches in Asia Minor. So everybody would be reading these letters. I mean, obviously that's practical because that's how the book has come down to us. So that's probably what eventually happened. However, that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about are these angels and the letters that's sent to these angels. It clearly tells us, number 1, that the letters were sent to the angels. Okay, and it's kind of implied that the angels would give the message to the church. Now, it doesn't tell us that that's what happened, but it sort of seems to be implied. The point is that the letters are sent to the angel, and it kind of like sort of opens up your mind here, and you start thinking, well, why is it that if these churches are so wrong and they have so much stuff wrong with them, why is the letter being sent to the angel and not the church itself? Why is Jesus not speaking directly to the church, instead choosing to speak to an angel who's also a servant? So you have to understand the things that's happening. Number one, John is a servant of God. Angels are also a servant of God. So Jesus is going to John, and he's saying, look, John, I'm not going to go to this church and talk to them. I'm Jesus. I'm not talking to those people. But I want to get you to talk to them. But I actually don't want you to physically go and talk to them. Instead, what I want you to do is I want you to write a letter to the angel of the church. 7 letters to 7 angels. And I want you to talk to those angels and tell them about what Jesus is saying. So it's a very, very interesting piece of information there that tells you about the book of Revelation. And I can promise you this, if you do not understand this element to the book of Revelation of John sending a letter to the 7 angels, you're really not going to understand a lot of the symbolism that is in the book of Revelation. But before we get too far into this video, I just want to take about 20 seconds to tell you about my YouTube channel and why I think you should subscribe. First of all, this is a Bible study channel, and what we do here is study the Bible because we take the Bible seriously, and we seriously study the Bible. So if you are looking for a Bible study that's online, it's absolutely free. You just found it, and you can go ahead and click subscribe and the bell notification. Oh, and also I forgot to tell you, my name is Adam Jorden Clark, and I publish a brand new video every single day. And this summer, which is today, actually, it's June 2nd. I don't think the summer's officially started, but for me, it's started. Okay, so we're spending all of the summer, the entire summer, talking about the book of Revelation and talking about end time stuff. And it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. So we're also going to be very detailed too, because when people start talking about this stuff, first of all, as I've said in other videos, most people have no idea what they're talking about. Most people are making stuff up. They have no real information. They're not scholars. They're not theologians. They're basically scam artists who are talking out of their imagination. And so what we want to do in this whole end times discussion that we're going to have this summer, we want to be very, very detailed. And we want to talk about some issues that nobody else is talking about. For example, the angels in the 7 churches. And what my main goal to do in these kinds of videos is not to tell you what you should believe, but it's actually to kind of point out all these different things and give you enough information so that way you can go start searching this stuff out on your own. Okay, I don't want to have to give you a book from one of those scammers out there and say, hey, go read their book because they know what they're talking about. Trust me, they don't know what they're talking about. So I just want to give you better information, more reliable information, more interesting information, and kind of spark curiosity for you to go looking into this stuff. And it really starts with you paying attention to the details in the text, like this detail right here where it says, to the angel of the church. So it's not to the church, it's to the angel. Well, that small little detail very much changes the whole context of the book because it's telling us this is a very spiritual thing. And what you also have to understand about this book is that it's a genre of literature called apocalypticism. We'll talk more about this summer, and if you don't know about apocalypticism, all you have to do is click the subscribe button and the bell notification, and eventually at some point in time, we'll probably spend a couple of days, couple of weeks talking about apocalyptic literature. And we will also be talking about apocalypticism, which is an early church belief, and we'll probably in fact, we are going to be talking about John the Baptist being an apocalyptic prophet and Jesus being an apocalyptic prophet. Oh, and also, did you know that Paul the Apostle, was a big believer in apocalypticism? Well, all those things are very, very important to understand because when you come to the book of Revelation and you understand that Jesus was an apocalyptic prophet, John was an apocalyptic prophet, the Apostle Paul was an apocalypticist, when you understand these types of things and you read the book of Revelation, it starts to click. You realize what's actually happening here, and the whole book begins to make sense. So in apocalypticism, I'll just give you a rough rundown. Apocalypticism is basically an ancient form of literature where you have all these different symbolisms and you have all these different heavens and stuff, and it's sort of almost always the purpose of writing apocalyptic literature is just to tell people very simply that Yes, you're suffering and you're in persecution, but God is going to make a way, and there's a fight up there in the sky of God fighting the devil, and whatever happens up there on heaven is happening down here on earth. But we all know at the end of the day, God's going to make a way. And so that's why the book of Revelation it has this phrase where it says, I'm coming soon, or I will come and be with you. And it has the famous phrase at the end where it says, if anybody takes the words out of these books, all the curses mentioned here will come upon them. Very brilliant book. So we're really going to build a lot of context to this book this summer. It's going to be really, really awesome. It's going to be really great, and I hope that it blesses you. Listen, if you like this video, let me know in the comments below. I have some more playlists up here if you want to go and check them out. Don't forget to click the big red A, because when you do, you subscribe to the channel, and you get a brand new video just like this every single day. My name is Adam Jordan Clark. Thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next video.